Hi everybody, today we're going to be working on section 3 of your lash written exam. This one will be on the eyelash consultation. Sorry about that. So if you are taking this exam again before August 31st, 2023, then you will be on the left side of my screen. And if you have taken it after that September 1st section, then you'll be on the right side of my screen. So we're going to look at that eyelash PSI page that we've been working through, so you guys should all know how to get to this section. So for the September 1st, you guys have the eyelash consultation. This is worth 20% of your grade, and it has 8 questions. The topics covered in eyelash consultation will be the eye and facial shapes, eyelash analysis, and eyelash care. If we go into your guys' textbooks, those areas are covered under Chapter 3, which is your product chemistry, Chapter 4, which is the anatomy of the eye and hair, and then Chapter 5 of your face and eye shapes in your CEO textbook. So we're going to turn to those now. So the first one that we're going to go over is the Chapter 3. Most of this you don't really need to focus super in depth on this chapter. This is just an overview of how to make sure that your eyelash service is going how it's supposed to with the products that you are using to make it as healthy for your client as possible. So why the humidity matters, how that's going to affect your glue, how that's going to affect your service. So that one, you don't have to really dive deep in. It's just one that you need to read over, get familiar with, but not spend all of your time and energy stressing about. Chapter 4, which is the anatomy of the eye and hair, is one that you are going to want to spend a little bit more on because obviously they do have the eyelash analysis and the face and eye shapes, which is slightly talked about in the anatomy of the eye and hair. But mainly this covers that eyelash analysis and eyelash care. So just because, again, most of this is review from you guys who have already gone through these test sections, but we're just going to briefly go over what gets covered in this chapter and what you kind of need to focus on for the test. So for Chapter 4, Anatomy of the Eye and Hair, this is everything related to anatomy, the general eye health, the anatomy of the eye as well as the lashes, the eyelash growth cycle, and then safe extension selection. So this really does cover those bottom 2 eyelash analysis and eyelash care sections. You do need to know about the skin. Again, as an eyelash professional, just because you are only doing eyelashes does not mean that your service is not affecting the skin. So learning about the epidermis versus the dermis, all the different layers, what each of those layers do, you just need to be familiar with. Are they going to ask you straight out, what is the stratum vernosum layer and how the nuclei are breaking down? No, but they are going to ask questions like how many layers are in the epidermis? What is, the bottommost layer? What is, another layer name for your sweat gland? Those types of questions. So that's why you do, even though you're eyelash and not SD, need to know what these are. You just don't have to study them as in depth as the SDs do. So figuring out the layers of the skin, a brief summary of what each of those layers do. It can be one or two simple words, just the way you know if it's talking about, the spiny cells versus the granule cells, those types of things. And again, this is found in chapter 4 of your guys' textbook. Figuring out the differences between all the glands and what those do, the sebaceous gland versus the sudoriferous gland, getting a rough idea on what all of those do, because as you learned in that chapter, they all do affect the actual eyelash hair. If you get to page 32, page 32 is the section that is the anatomy of the actual hair. So this is one of the sections that you really do want to study because they specifically asked for this section. So figuring out the order of the hair, where the cuticle is versus the cortex versus the medulla, the hair bulb versus the matrix versus the papilla. As well as understanding the actual just anatomy of the eye itself. So the conjunctiva, which is the thin layer on the eyelid, those types of information would be very helpful for you to know. When you go farther in, the next section that it talks about is natural lashes. This falls under that eyelash care. This is when they're at their healthiest state. How are you going to take care of them? So that's figuring out everything that you can about the lashes. So how often do you shed lashes? Do you shed 21 lashes every 24 weeks, every 42 weeks, every 63? Figuring out where that level is, that is a healthy amount of eyelash shedding versus what is abnormal. And that falls into knowing the eyelash growth cycle. So those shorter lashes that you see when you're lashing, those are the anagen. This is the growing phase. These are those baby lashes. They're very fast growing. They're very healthy because they haven't experienced any damage yet due to any outside factors. What's your number? 0259. I'll come tomorrow. Okay. What is your number? 035. Yep. Thank you. So those ones are your healthiest lashes. They are just growing. They haven't experienced any environmental dangers. They haven't really experienced any negative effects from if you have a genetic condition or things like that. They haven't really experienced that. So those ones are your healthiest lashes. The medium length lashes are in your catagen phase. This is the second phase. They are your young adult lashes. So they're the transition stage, that middle stage. They grow a little bit longer, but not significantly. These ones are the ones that are probably a little bit easier to lash. Not quite as healthy as your anagen, but still one of your healthier lashes. The longest lashes are in their telogen phase. This is the last phase. So they are resting, meaning they're no longer growing. They're no longer absorbing any of those nutrients, any of that. They're waiting to detach from your follicle and fall out so that they are ready to shed. These ones are your thicker lashes, they're your longer lashes, and they're generally the lashes that you see the most damage to because they have been around longer than all the other lashes, so they've had a little bit more wear and tear. But that is your last phase. Your telogen phase is stage 3 of your lash growth cycle, and then a new anagen lash will grow in that lash's place. As you've noticed, when you are lashing, natural lashes grow in all different lengths all the time. So you're never just going to have a full set of, oh, these are only anagens, these are only catagens. They're all fluctuating throughout that service and throughout your growth cycle and your life. So you need to make sure that you're taking care of all of those lashes as best as you can. So some lashes, anagen lashes, you don't really want to lash a lot of anagen lashes because the weight of the extension would be damaging to that lash. Once that anagen is a little bit closer to a catagen or becomes a catagen lash, then that's when you'll actually start putting those lash extensions on because it's strong enough to support it. So you want to make sure that you remember when it is healthy to have eyelash extensions on a lash and when it is not. It is generally not healthy to have eyelashes extensions on anagen, whereas you want it mainly on the telogen and catagen lashes. Catagen lashes are your main lashes that you want to lash because anagen is too small to hold the lash and your telogen are growing out. So your retention time will be lessened. So mainly you really want to protect that catagen middle transition phase as much as possible. They're the ones that are still absorbing the serum, but are strong enough to actually be able to support what you are doing with your lashes. So the anagen growth phase is the stage when the eyelash activity is growing. At any given time, approximately 30% of your lashes are in this active growing stage. And this stage lasts about 7 weeks. You are going to get questions on this test asking how long each eyelash phase lasts, how many generally lashes are in that phase at any given time. So these are important numbers to remember. The catagen growth cycle is also called the lag phase. So another important thing to know is if they have a different name, make sure you know, because then if I ask you a question being like, oh, the lag phase is typically lasts 3 weeks, true or false, and you have no idea what the lag phase is because it's not catagen, telogen, or anagen, you're like, I have no idea. That's false because there's no such thing as a lag phase. And then you would have gotten that question wrong. So always know if something has 2 names and what those 2 names are. So this is called the lag phase because during this time of growth, the eyelash growth kind of stops and the follicle begins that shrinking process. So like I said, the catagen or lag phase lasts about 3 weeks. The next one that you have is the telogen phase. This is the final stage where the eyelash falls out and the new one will come in. So these lashes have been through every other step and they are now where they are going to fall out. The telogen or resting phase is about the 3rd month of your growth cycle. So the first month will be your anagen. The second month, your 4 to 8 weeks old lashes, those will be your catagen. And then your telogen is your 3rd month. So these lashes are about 8 to 12 weeks old. They are your longest lashes. They're your thicker lashes. And these lashes are the ones that are no longer growing. That follicle has completely shrunk and is now waiting to let go to have that new anagen grow right in. The next section that we're going to go over is chapter 5. This is your face and eye shapes. This one, they're probably going to add a lot more questions from this section just because one, it's specifically asked for eyelash, face, and eye shapes. And then 2, there's a lot of questions that you can easily make from this section. So in this chapter, it talks about the different face shapes, the different eye shapes, how this affects your styling, the corrective measurements for the eye and face shape, client consultations, styling with different curls and lengths, and then figuring out how to do consultations with that. Professional styling and mapping are the ones that are in this section. So the first one that we're going to talk about is round faces. Round faces are wide as they are long. So they're very symmetrical. And looking at the face shape, you can see the area is a even fill circle, which means you don't have to worry too much on if it's going to look uneven due to their face shape. A round face shape has no sharp lines and tends to look round and a little bit heavy. So pretty self-explanatory, a round face shape is round. It's very, very soft. And if you have this face shape, you'll generally want to kind of narrow your face down. So what you are going to avoid with this face shape is round brows, attributes like round shaped face brows, overlining the lips to make them look rounder or puffier. Because anything you do, if you round your eyebrows, if you make your lips look more round and bigger, obviously the whole overall look will just be very round. The ideal face shape is oval, so you're wanting to narrow that back down. So to correct a face shape, or to get it to look more oval, in terms of eyelash extensions, there are a couple of key styles that will help with that. So this one, you want to kind of open the eyes a little bit more with longer extensions focused in the middle of your eye. This draws the eye line up, making your face appear a little bit longer and elongated, and reduces its wide appearance. You don't want to draw any attention to the sides of this face. So a cat eye would not be a good eye design for somebody with a round shaped face, because that would draw the attention to the corner of the eye, which is drawing the attention to the corner of my face. So to enhance your face shape and create the illusion of length, you want to keep your brows soft and slightly curved. Add extra length on the tails and make sure that the height of the arch and the brows are higher and sharper and fit your facial features rather than going outwards. So the eye designs and styles that will go with a round shaped face are more of your open eye, your doll eye. If somebody is looking for something like the cat eye, you can go with the fox eye, because that'll draw the attention still slightly to the side, but not as much as the cat eye. So always with round shape, draw attention to the middle of the face, not the sides. So questions that they'll ask about those ones is, what eye design would not work for a round shaped face? And they'll be like open eye, cat eye, doll eye, classic. And then you'll be like, cat eye. Cat eye does not work with a round shaped face. So that is why I'm giving you all this information, and the fact that this is from chapter 5, so it has been a while since you guys have gone over this topic. So just to give you a little bit of a refresher. Oval faces, when the forehead is slightly wider than the chin and can have a prominent cheekbone, in the face and sometimes gently tapers to a soft kind of curve on the sides. Oval face shapes are the most versatile of all the face shapes because obviously you're no longer having to try and make it look like an oval because it's already an oval. So it is the most aesthetically flattering face shape out of all the face shapes. And you really just want to focus on maintaining that balance that the oval face shape already has. The things that you want to avoid with the oval face shape, you don't really have anything. The balance of the oval face shape allows you the freedom to pick basically any style. You just have to make sure that you consult and highlight and conceal everything that the client itself is uncomfortable with. If she thinks that her face is more round, then make sure that it doesn't appear round to her. But again, it's oval. She doesn't really have anything that she needs to adjust. So the main thing, if you're correcting a oval face shape, is actually the eye shape and the eye placement, where they are on the face and how the eye is positioned is the main thing that you'll consult and worry about when you're dealing with an oval face shape. The correction to them varies. Not every oval face shape is the same. So some oval face shapes do lean kind of more towards a round face, and some oval shapes really do lean a little bit more oblong or triangular face shape. So then just figuring out that balance on that personal client. But again, basically any eyelash style works with an oval face shape. So you don't really have to worry about that question. Super easy answer. Every eye shape style works with oval. Oblong or long faces, they are very long, oblong, or rectangular face shapes. Their foreheads, cheekbones, and jaws are generally all the same width, so they're very drawn out. Think of what you think of when you're like, oh yes, back in the day they always called it like a horse face, wide long face kind of thing. That's what it is. So you want to avoid styles with spikes or longer lengths on the inner corner. So no reverse cat eyes. Also, you want to avoid dramatic curls as they will draw the eye upward, just like we were talking about with a round shaped face. Drawing at the center will make that face look even longer. So you want to create the illusion of a wider shaped face. So a wider forehead using longer length at the end. So cat eyes, fox eyes, Egyptian eyes, those styles are the ones that work best for that oblong or long shaped face. And again, because that one has 3 names, make sure you know it's oblong, long, or rectangular. That way, if they're like, oh, the rectangular face shape or the long face shape, you'll know which one they're talking about. It's all the same face shape. The next one that we have is square faces. Those with square faces will have their forehead, cheekbones, and jawline will all be about the same width, similar to the oblong face, but the square will come from their jawline, being their most prominent feature. So you want to pick styles based solely on the face shape. Can't really trick the eye enough with the square one. So that one you'll want to base mainly off of the eye shape, not the face shape, because the square face shape is a very, very defined one. That's a little bit harder to trick the eye into seeing a different face shape just because their jawline is so prominent. So the correction for that one is there's no solution that is based solely on face shape alone. The eye placement and eye shape will play a major part in this face shape. So you want to pick styles that will enhance those features, and that will draw attention to the eye instead of drawing attention to the jawline. You want to avoid anything that will sharpen the face, because that will just create more angular lines and make it look more harsh, whereas you want to more soften their face. The next one that we have is the heart-shaped face. They have many similarities to the oval face, with the extension of the tapered chin. So heart-shaped faces have the very pointy or very narrow chin that the oval face just doesn't really have. If not balanced well, the eyebrows or hairstyles, the client forehead can seem a little bit wider than their jawline and chin area. So for this one, you want to avoid anything that would widen that forehead anymore or draw attention to that. So you want to avoid traditional cat eye styles, as the longer length will again widen that forehead. And you want to keep that forehead narrower so that it looks more oval. So the first step to figuring out how to do that is determining whether the client wants to highlight or reduce either the forehead or the chin sharp angle. Then you can either work with a style that will reduce the forehead width, like a reverse cat eye, or even shorter to a medium doll eye. Or if you want to create that longer face, getting those bottom lashes added in, getting the length back to that face, it really just depends on that client. So knowing the difference between the heart and the oval will also be a very big factor for your test, making sure that you can actually tell the difference between, if I give you and just take out the name of it, and if I read the descriptions, would you be able to tell me, oh yes, the first description is a oval shaped face, the second description is a cat eye, a heart shaped face. If I get rid of the names, can you still tell me what the face shape is? If I say, oh, the client has a very balanced face, it's very soft, and they have a even forehead chin or forehead cheek, and then tapers down into a narrow pointy chin, which sounds very similar to the explanation for a oval face, except you get that pointy narrow chin. So making sure you fully know the difference between a heart and an oval, because those ones are the most similar of your face shapes. Diamond shaped faces are often mistaken as square or heart shapes as well. So those ones also get a little bit tricky. The diamond face shapes are very angular, but unlike the other two of the heart or the square, the forehead is shorter and the face is often widest at the temples and the cheekbones instead of the forehead, and the chin is pointy but less pointy than a heart shape. So their widest area is right in the middle, and they have a narrower forehead and a narrower chin. So for this one, you want to avoid adding more length to it. So again, avoid styles that have the longest lashes in the middle. So those doll eyes, things like that, because that will, again, lengthen the face, and you don't really want that with the diamond shaped eye, or sorry, face shape. So don't apply any sharp lines to the diamond face. Allow the lash length to gradually change, kind of more natural, more wispy of a style, and that'll make that face look a little bit softer. Any sharp lines will just accent and accentuate the fact that she has very sharp lines already. So the 5 face shapes will be round, oval, oblong, square, heart, or diamond. I'm sorry, 6. The 6 face shapes. That's like I recounted. So you need to know not only the face shapes, but also the eye shapes and eye placement. So close set eyes are when the natural eye is more than one eye width apart. So if I photocopy my eye and then paste it right in between my eyes, and I don't have space or it overlaps, then that would be a close set eyes, meaning my eyes are set closer together than is ideal. So close set eyes are less than one eye width apart. So then using that space, you want to avoid any longer lengths in the first section of the eye, which is right here, or over exaggerating the longer length at the corners unless the client wants that very sexy cat eye look, because it's going to be very prominent when their eyes are closer together, just because it will look very, very sharp. So the natural would be using the same or very similar lights throughout a full eye. So you want to keep the eye similar throughout, or arrange the length in the middle or outer corners to help further draw your eyes apart. So don't be over dramatic with your lashes, but still lengthen them on the sides of your eye instead of the middle. So those cat eyes, but just don't be overly dramatic with your cat eye, otherwise it's going to be very apparent. If you do any of those longer lengths on the inner corner, it'll shrink that space in between their eyes even more, making their eyes look even closer together. On the opposite side of that spectrum, we have wide set eyes. Wide set eyes are more than one eye width apart, and they are considered wide set eyes. So for these ones, you want to do, again, the opposite that you did with close set eyes. You want to make that space in between their eyes smaller. So not adding those lengths on the side, because that will make them appear even wider and farther apart. So you want to place either your medium or your short lengths on the outer edges. So they'll ask questions in your exam like, if the eye is more than one eye width apart, is it wide set, close set, almond eye, deep set? And you'll be like, oh, it's wide set because it's more than one eye width apart. They'll also ask questions like, if I have a client with wide set eyes, where am I going to, what styles work best for this eye? Where am I going to place the longest lashes? So this is why we're re-going over this section. The next will be almond eyes. If your eyes are twice as wide as they are high, then you've got almond shaped eyes, which is one of the most common among Asians due to their even proportions. Almond's eyes can suit almost any eyelash type, so you don't really have to worry about figuring out how to adjust for their eye, because it's pretty much the same as the oval face shape. The almond eye is the one that universally works the best for every eye style. So those that want to accentuate and elongate their natural lashes can opt for that cat eye look, and those who prefer to widen and brighten their eyes kind of give them that open eye. The only thing that you really have to worry about with almond eyes is some almond eyes can appear a little bit smaller. So sometimes you just want to use a little bit longer of a length to kind of open it up, wake it up a little bit. And you just mainly have to worry about their face shape at that point because their eye shape works with everything. So then if they have a square shape or a round shaped face with an almond eye, then that's what you'll correct. Deep set eyes are eyes that receive deep into your eye socket. The sole goal here is to have it kind of set the eyes that wouldn't weigh them down. You don't want to make it look even deeper. So simply go for a natural or doll-like eye extension, a style that is long enough to give you that curl and that drawl, but not overly dramatic to get that super dark lash line where it's going to set their eye farther back aesthetically with your extensions. So you want to avoid dark, dense lashes, mega volume, those types of styles, because again, they will create that darker look, making them look farther back in the face than they actually are. So you want to think light, think open, think natural, doll-like, those types of looks to give them that pop and kind of bring them forward. Monolid eyes are also, again, those associated with Asians. They have, if you look at most European eyes, we have the double eyelid. So we have this eyelid, which is not connected to this one, whereas the Asians just have the one eyelid and doesn't have that extra crease line that we have. So this effects create an appearance of visible eyelid that you can put eyeliner on the eyes in hollow to work on. Monolid is one where no eyelid is visible. You don't have any extra creases. So with this one, the taping is going to be a little bit tricky, but you again just have to worry about more of their face shape because their eyelid or their eye shape is just the fact that they don't have this extra crease, but not something that you really have to adjust for. Protruding eyes are eyes that are naturally set into the eye socket and therefore the face would make them appear a little more forward. So they kind of appear to bulge out of the face a little bit more, like if you look at the side, you'd actually be able to see more roundness in my eyeball. So their eyes are going to be larger, appear rounder. You're also going to be able to see more of the white of their eye than the iris like you would normally see, especially when you're looking directly at them. So what you want to avoid with this eye placement is making them appear like they're coming out more. So you want to avoid anything that enlarges or opens the eye. So you want to go with more of those cat eyes, fox eyes, anything that will kind of shrink it down, have those heavier, darker lash lines. Those types of styles will help minimize the dramaticness of protruding eyes. Protruding eyes are one of the ones you'll probably want to correct the most because it is the most eye-catching and the one that is least desirable for most people. Downturned eyes is another common eye shape. So downturned eyes are often heavier at the outer corners and droop down while the inner corners kind of turn up. Downturned eyes are very central and they appear heavy and sultry. So it's not a bad face shape or sorry, eye shape. It's just that they do have a slight down area. As you know, downturned eyes don't generally show age that quickly because you don't have to have that extra strain on the side of the eye. The most common issue with downturned eyes is the crow feet at the outer corners and the bags. Oh, sorry. Downturned eyes do show age a little bit quicker than the other eyes because of the dark bags underneath and the crow's feet, and it just kind of drags and kind of pulls down, making you a little bit more worn out and tired. There are a lot of people, popular celebrities that do have it. Anne Hathaway, Katie Holmes, those that have that downturned eye. So you can picture them in your head, that's what it looks like. They can appear sleepy or very soft. It's generally a pretty attractive eye shape for most people, just because it's very soft and not aggressive. But you do kind of want to wake up that sleepy eye, make it look a little bit more open, a little bit more awake, and kind of draw attention away from the aging signs that they'll have a little bit more trouble with. Upturned eyes are the opposite of downturned eyes. Upturned eyes, you will notice that the outer corner is higher than the inner corner. Upturned eyes are going to be narrower at the outer edges and higher up at those higher edges as well. At those outer corners, sorry. This is mainly what you see in like cartoons. It's a very feminine eye shape. It's a very desirable trait. Upturned eyes are very attractive and are perfect for like the cat eye makeup and things like that. So a good way to tell if you have upturned eyes is look straight forward at a photo, and then you want to draw a straight line through the pupil horizontally. And if the corners are above that pupil line, then you have the upturned eyes. That one, you just want to make sure that you don't make that upward motion on their eye too high. While it is feminine to have that upturned flick, which is what you mainly see in the cartoons with that mascara, you don't want to make it seem too pointy and looking like an alien. So just be careful with the curve and the length of your lashes. Figuring out also the different curls, what they're used for, what's the difference between a B curl, a D curl, a J curl, and when they are best used. So this is again in that still same chapter 5. And figuring out when to use all of those. In the back of that chapter, they have how to create all those different eye shapes. So if you want to get more familiar with how to phrase, oh, this is a cat eye, this is an open eye, what wording they're going to use on the test, you can also look in that back of that section. So this covers everything that I have for the eyelash consultation. We went over the eye shape, face shapes, eyelash analysis, telling what growth cycle it is it healthy? And then in that first section, that product care, eyelash care, and how to make sure you keep that eye healthy, which we also went into with that eyelash analysis. If you guys have any questions on this section or any other section in your written or your practical, feel free to ask any of your instructors. We'll be able to direct you to which area to study for and how to best go about it. That is all I have for you for this section, and I'll see you in the next one. Thanks. Bye.